What's up? Okay, back in action. We're gonna make some NFTs today. I'm actually pretty pumped. You guys don't need really care what's going on my Twitter. Maybe it's what brought you here. But yeah, today basically getting back into gear. The last week's been kind of a slow grind as far as this project's concerned. Went through. Sorry, let me just get my bearings here. We built the leagues and teams. When I was originally building the teams, I built them out as this custom resource, so not an NFT. Let me just hide this terminal here. So this isn't an NFT. What I wanted to do is see if we could like actually make it use the NFT standard, and still kind of cooperate the way that I wanted it to, because if it is an NFT and it uses the standard, it makes it a lot easier for the users of the platform to go ahead and trade their teams on the market. So I mean, like, there's some big reasons I want to be able to do that. Like, I think just in terms of like how it works in sports, it would be really cool if you could build up a franchise, build up the notoriety, like basically build a dynasty, and then sell that, at its highest point, and take your returns and do what you want with them. Maybe you want to start from scratch, maybe you want to jump into something else or whatever, but I wanted that option to be there. But one thing that I kept running into was like, because NFTs are stored in a collection's a specific type of resource. The capabilities in order to like borrow a reference to an NFT, those are attached to the collection resource. And like I guess where this is all headed is you can only have one NFT collection, or at least it's stored to a path in your storage. It's probably easier if I just demonstrate what I'm talking about, but you can only have, in this case there's no collection, but like one of these resources, once you have one saved to a path in your storage, you would have to like put a suffix on this path, like 002 or something like that, to store another one there. You can't store another resource at the same path. So that's why we have this like collection pattern where you can store multiple NFT resources in your NFT collection. So what I thought would be really cool would be like if everyone could have multiple teams, which would then give each user like a team collection, and then you were able to register that team to a league using a capability, instead of actually moving your resource into the league's collection of teams. And the reason for that is because the owner of the team is not going to be the owner of a league. Like more often than not, I'm sure league owners will have their own teams if they want to, but like there's a clear difference in who owns a league versus who owns a team. Who owns a league, in my mind, is going to be a game developer or a partner, somebody who's going to build an experience on top of the Athletaverse that will be using the teams and the assets and everything that comes with it. But it would be somebody more along the lines of like a big name game publisher. So the reason I want to use this capability kind of registration thing as opposed to actually putting your asset in this other person's league is because you would surrender ownership of your team. And that just seems like a deal breaker for me. I have never and will never in cryptocurrency space just give one of my NFTs to something in hopes that it will come back, because that just is a recipe for disaster. So yeah, at the end of the day, it was kind of more important that we had this capability based registration process than it was, in my mind, for users to have multiple teams and treat those teams like an NFT. And I mean, we're still really early. Like, the whole point of what I'm doing here is really just kind of wrapping my head around like, okay, what can I do and what can't I do? Trying to get as much of the canvas covered from like a basic structure and like rules and capabilities standpoint, make sure the security of all those things is really tight, and then I can kind of go back in depth and really like fiddle around with certain pieces of the puzzle. So there is like an interesting solution that I noticed in the kitty items marketplace, where instead of using a sale collection and a NFT collection like it originally was, they're using like resources and capabilities in a different way, basically to create it's the best way to describe it, to basically create like the offer, I guess, like and manage that. So the NFTs would never have to leave their original collection. Somebody would just be able to say that this NFT is for sale, and then somebody would be able to go ahead and go use that sale or offer resource. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but that's an interesting solution. It might actually change things, because it's kind of approaching the solution from the other direction. So more on that later. I just decided I have a couple of good buddies that are helping me kind of plan this stuff out and everything, and everybody basically said, like, just do what's easiest, move on, get to the fun stuff. So that's what we're doing. So just to summarize all that, the last basically week and a half was me fiddling around with the teams. And then ultimately we just decided, screw it, let's just make them a custom resource. That way everybody can own one team. I can register the capabilities I'm expecting to be able to pass around and link them up appropriately. And now we use this cool team public interface, which is how we link the public capability. And we pass that along into our league registration system. So where do we do? We register a team. We provide that team public capability. We add this to this little what is it called? Registered capability manager thing that I created, and it basically has its own methods and fields, and kind of handles the I keep wanting to call it a queue, but basically just a couple of dictionaries with the information that we need in order to basically approve or reject team registrations. So the team owner can basically register or request to register their team to a league, and then the league owner can actually approve or reject or remove a team after that team is applied to register. So pretty simple but effective little system for managing who's a part of what league. That way, if a team's misbehaving or maybe just not showing up to play, then the league manager can bounce that team out of there and give somebody else an opportunity to do it. So yeah, like ultimately the big issue for the last like week and a half was just, how do I connect a team with a league while keeping the team in the original owner's collection, and or keeping the team registered or stored in the original owner's account. So now it's a matter of like, okay, everyone's gonna own their own team. At this stage, it's gonna be one team. I don't know how that's gonna work. I would really like to give people the ability to have more than one, so we'll try to solve that problem someday. But for the basics, it'll be, a user will come in, they'll sign up. When they sign up, they'll register their team. Their team will essentially be like a super cool collection of athlete NFTs that they've decided to put onto their roster. So now today we're going to create the athlete NFT. It's going to be a really, really simple NFT. It's going to use the basic NFT standard again. So it's going to be another rerun of a previous video, probably at a faster speed. We're going to add just a basic name for metadata right now. I do have kind of two potential solutions for how to mint and add metadata to these tokens. But just to get through today and quickly, because I don't have a lot of gas in the tank, it'll just be a real quick add a name to a player. There won't be any stats or anything like that to worry about, and then once we mint that player, they'll each have a name, and we'll just be able to add those players to the team just to make sure everything works. And that's probably where we're going to cut it out today. But these next couple of Athletaverse streams, I think there'll be probably 2 or 3 focused on the NFTs. And these should be pretty interesting, because I see this is still where a lot of the excitement is around building smart contracts on Cadence. A lot of people have questions around NFTs, so it'll be good to see people see me go through this. And I think once we get the foundation kind of layer built for, or sorry, like the foundation structure for like the team, sorry, not the team, the athlete and the gear, then I'll jump into the metadata in a little bit more detail. And basically what I'm looking at is like, if we can, let's try to generate the metadata on chain. I think that's going to be a little bit complicated because it's going to involve randomness, and we can't really do that with Cadence on chain. It's unsafe. The random number function is called unsafe random. So it, you know, it's named that for a reason. It's basically because things are public on chain, so it can be kind of gamed. So there's an on-chain potential solution that we could use. Like we could use Chainlink or another Oracle's randomness API, which would allow us to do kind of more fun stuff on chain. So I want to take a look at like kind of if that's a realistic solution or not in terms of like transaction fees and that type of thing. As well, we also have to consider transaction size. Like we need to make sure that all the math that's going on can actually be done within the scope of one transaction. So we'll see what that looks like. Again, it's going to be kind of one of those, we'll choose the easiest path probably to get through kind of the MVP side of things, and then we'll take a look at what actually makes more sense in the long term before we really start taking this thing seriously. So if we do just a server-side generated thing, so not on-chain, I actually already have the basics of kind of a player generator script written up in JavaScript from like eons ago. So I probably won't pull that up on stream because it'll be embarrassing, but I definitely will clean that up and see if it's usable or whether we just need to go from scratch with something else. So yeah, let's get to it. I'm not going to bother running through the code today. Like the first thing I usually do now before I go on a live stream after the last couple of runs was make sure my CLI, like my flow CLI, is up to date, and then just kind of run the code and make sure everything actually executes properly. So it's just basically if I do that first, then I know that nothing I wrote is causing the problem. So it makes it a lot easier to debug like the potential tooling issue. Maybe I missed a flag like I did back in the other stream. Or was it? That's the make file. I was missing this before and cursing the world because my code wouldn't deploy to any particular accounts. So there are little things that will happen in between versions. It's nice to run your code before you've made any changes just to make sure everything runs the way that you expect it to. Yeah, but otherwise I'm just going to carry forward. Everything, I don't know if anybody's really been following the GitHub or not, but everything was kind of split up between a few branches for a bit while I was trying to figure things out, but it's all back to the main branch now. There shouldn't be anything confusing on the public repo. Yeah, so on that note, let's make a new branch and call it Athlete NFT. The goal will be to not have to push a new branch to my Git public repo today. Hopefully we'll get all through this. Cool. So this is going to be the worst named contract of them all. I always like feel like I want to call them players, but they're really not. They're athletes. Player makes me feel like it's actually somebody like the user of a video game or something. So let's put a super helpful. I'll update that later when we're not streaming. We're able to use paths here. Sorry, it's been a bit. Are we going up a directory here? Let's just make sure. I feel like that was stupid, yeah. Just bear with me while I get through the first 5 minutes of live coding. It's always a struggle. Okay. This is how you can tell it's been a few days since I've worked on the project. No red lines, so that's a nice start. We're not being yelled at. So I always forget, unless I've been working on this consistently, like what's all included in the token standard. So it's nice to just kind of have it open in another tab, and I'm gonna type it out just for muscle memory, but I always say that and then I always forget. Events. You guys have seen, I'm hoping you've seen most of this stuff before, so there's a lot of copy paste going on here. I do like to clean up the basic events. I don't think we need all those comments. So I need the pub resource. NFT. I just forget whether it's non-fungible token, INFT or NFT. I think it's NFT. Maybe I should have saved a copy of the team before I junked it, but that's okay. It's good little practice for me on a Friday. Yeah, okay, so it's NFT. We want to give it an ID. And we're also going to give it a name. And we're going to, yeah. So, I mean, normally, like, what you would see would be, like, a metadata. And this would probably be a var. This would be a dictionary. This would be a string. And this would be a string. So that's kind of like the standard way of making an NFT. You just basically add like keys and values in here. So you'd create a, like, we could do it this way and have metadata, like dot name. And yeah, maybe let's do it. We're just gonna be adding a name, so it's a little bit like I could just put name here and a string value, but nah, yeah, I'm gonna just do it my way. Because I think what we're gonna end up doing is like we're gonna create like a custom struct for metadata for these, and that's gonna be all based on stats. And I still have a lot of thinking to do when it comes to like how we want to like set these up, because it's not like a single sport game. Like we're gonna have to have, I think, common, like four or so common buckets that we would infer other stats for other games from. Like, so there would be like dexterity and that type of thing, as opposed to being like shot strength and that type of thing. Because, you know, if you're playing baseball, it doesn't matter how hard your slap shot is, I guess. The tokens. Yeah. So these comments are gonna be super useless. Okay, I guess we can call it the athletes. Because I'm not actually that good at thinking on stream, so. So we're going to pass, we're not going to pass in the ID actually, we're just going to give it equals total supply. I feel like this has been the hardest stream of mine to follow. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is, instead of passing in an ID when we mint the token, we're just going to take the ID from like the existing total supply. So when we initialize this contract, we're going to initialize it with a 0 value. Then we are going to, when we initialize a new NFT, we're going to just take that ID value right from the total supply, and then down below here we're going to increment our total supply. And that's not an S. So again, we need to write the whole thing out here. There's no shorthand operators for this yet. I don't know if there ever will be, so I shouldn't say that. Yeah, it'll be deposited. I'm just trying to think if we need an event for actually like creating or minting a new athlete. Yeah, let's do it. Like, these events are important because, like, if you need to go, like if you need to look things up or find out what happened, right? So deposit's cool in terms of like knowing when an NFT was deposited into your account, but maybe we want to know when a particular athlete was minted. You don't want to go fishing through a bajillion deposits and withdrawals, because that's deposits and withdrawals are going to happen anytime it changes an account, and hopefully these are going to be traded. So we definitely want to keep track of, like, at least have an idea of when the actual token was created, in case we need to go look that up. So we'll fire that off. Yeah, I'm just gonna clean this up because it's an ugly thing to have to rewrite over and over. So I'm just gonna take let give it a little bit cleaner of a name. Just using it all over the place, so we might as well pack that up and clean it nicer. Or pack that up, clean it, make it nicer. Yeah, okay, just leave it in there. I was just looking at that and seeing if we really need to name the... Oh, I'll just make this a little bit more consistent with everything else that I do. Usually if I pass in one argument, and it's kind of clear, at least to me. I don't know if this is a best practice or not, so feel free to yell at me if anybody's watching this from that has a better better thought of this. But I just like to kind of clean these things up, like new athlete created, pass in the token ID. I don't want to have to write ID, even though I'm done writing this event. So maybe screw it. Maybe make it more obvious. Cool. Explain ourselves a little bit. Get the token ID. Total supply. Nice, I can actually put this event down here too. Like these at the bottom. I just don't like passing in an ID every time you mint the token, otherwise you could just pass it whatever ID you want. I think it just makes sense to pull it from the total supply and kind of have that all handled in the same spot. So that's why I do it that way. I guess we can add the name to our event as well. Okay. I don't think we need this many comments. Let's add that name. So that'll be a little bit more helpful of an event. That's basically it. Like that's our whopping token metadata structure for this example, and that'll just get us through to basically just create like minting and testing. So like I said, there'll be a whole lot more to it, but we need to figure out what that actually is still. Okay. It's all coming back now. Kinda. Let's check it all out now. Cool. So this is where I usually copy pasta from the examples because it's I don't really want to write out all these implementations, but I guess at the same time I probably should. But we're getting there. Is that a reference? No, it's not. It's the actual thing. Resource dictionary, which will contain NFTs. So this actually stores, well, we already know this. Talking like it's news, but we've built these before, so. So we need to destroy. Yeah, I'm pulling up the example. It's been way too long here. This is all safe for now. So. Actually, I'm not looking in the right place. Let's go to GitHub. It's like the week I'm having. Very slow and all over the place. So I apologize if this one's tough to follow. That's why it's a very simple stream. Very much a repeat. I'm sure I've pretty much streamed this exact same thing a few times. Okay. So all I'm looking at, like, there's that metadata struct that I was talking about before, or dictionary that I was talking about before. So yeah, I'm basically just pulling all of this. Oh, interesting. They're using the NFT definition from the actual imported contract. Cool. Okay. Move that empty dictionary into there. Like so. Yeah, so I'm gonna copy all this out and then just have a look at it. Okay. Yeah, because this is all good. We might do, like, the only thing that always comes up with the standard is we might build like a custom interface for any custom methods that we might make on this one. But I mean, besides maybe like get name, yeah, so I think we will have like a couple of really simple custom getters. So let's just create that quickly. And then I'll explain what I'm doing. We need to name it. It'll be athlete public for now. And I think we're gonna have like a get name. That just returns the player or the athlete's name for now. We'll have to pass in the ID. Okay, so let me just quickly write this method. One thing I gotta do is work on consistency a little bit. Like, I gotta go through these contracts and see if everything's kind of in the right order or the same order, because I feel like I've got inits at the bottom in some cases and under my fields and others and stuff like that. So it's nice to just kind of make things consistent when people are reading through your code so they know where to actually look for things. We're gonna pass in the ID. Yeah, no, putting that on the collection. Dumb. Yeah, no, I can put that up here. And then I would do this. So instead of being on the collection, oops. Bring on next week. probably restrict that then. We're not going to be able to set it, so. I just don't think it makes sense to rename players. It's nice and it's kind of cool. I like how like one thing is minted and then exists forever. So I'd like it to have the same name, be easily identified. That way, if a player gets like super good, super famous, then that way they can be easily identified, or nobody can mess with it. So yeah, no, okay. I'm not gonna put any methods in there yet. That's where I was going with this. So we're gonna take this back where I originally had it. And we're going to put in borrow athlete. There it is. And that will return a reference to that should just be this. There should be a reference to our version of this. Now we can still have an interface and return that, but I'm just going to return basically what this is doing is, so if we borrow NFT, if we call this method from just the collection public capability, we're not going to have access to like any methods or fields that we've written for the Athletaverse version of this. So in order to do that, we need to actually do something similar, but borrow the NFT and basically tell it to return an authorized reference of this, and then tell it to return that as a reference of our version of the NFT. So basically just return a different type of reference, because this one's going to be restricted to be kind of essentially useless for what we need it to do. So remember, I couldn't get this working last time I tried this at all for the life of me, so hopefully this one goes better. I'm gonna look up again. This one's a little bit tricky too, but this will be in the rocks. What's it called? That was in here. Okay. Where are you? Borrow stone. So this is what we're talking about. Let me just copy that out here and get the implementation details. This is going to be optional just in case it doesn't exist. Formatting from hell there. Cool. Okay. So just walking through what we're actually doing here. So if the value is not nil, then we can get the, we're gonna have to rename this. So get the reference to the athlete. As an authorized reference. So basically like getting the base level NFT and then returning it as the like more specific class that we're creating now. And then otherwise, if it doesn't exist, we're just going to return nil. So that's why we're using an optional there. But that's how you would borrow a reference to your version of an NFT as opposed to the like the standard version of the NFT without all the extra bells and whistles that you've added. I think that sums it up. Still curious about the comments and like the dark color scheme here. I know that it's not necessarily ideal. I just like my eyes a lot. So if it's really hard to read, let me know. I'm happy to change it for you guys. Okay. So we've added this athlete public interface to our collection, which gives us the ability to call this borrow athlete method, which returns a reference to our version of the NFT, therefore allowing us to call this like get name method once we have those. So we will use that to like basically check. I think we'll use that to check. We'll use that, don't worry, we will use that. We might need to do something different for the teams or whatever to actually output a list of team names, but I don't know, seemed like a good use. We needed to do it anyway. I think like I don't think I've built a custom NFT that I didn't need to do that little workaround to get our custom data and methods. So that I'm hoping will change, and I don't know how, but I'm hoping it'll change because it is a little bit of it's a little bit weird, like it's what you'd expect this to do. So it's a bummer that we can't just load up a bunch of extra functionality or custom functionality and just borrow it all. So there's a good reason for why we can't, but it would be nice if we could just do it. So okay, we've got our collection, we've got our custom interface. We really just need to create the collection. I need to go back up too. I did a nasty thing. I haven't created any named paths yet, but we're gonna use those in a sec here too. So just making sure I got everything there. Don't need you anymore. Yeah, so create empty collection and a minter resource. I don't know how I want to handle that yet, so we're just gonna throw it in there. Hey, thanks so much. I'm glad you're liking the videos. Hopefully we'll be able to update those sometime soon. Alright, cool, yeah. So create the collection, create a minter. I'm just kind of having a little bit of a mental session here on what I want to do with the minter, who I want to be able to mint athletes. I think anybody should. I guess when you create your team, you'll get the ability to mint. No, actually that's a lie. We don't want everybody to be able to mint. We just want the admin to be able to mint. And then we're gonna probably down the road, I could see. Yeah, sorry. The plan is coming back to me now. So like we're gonna have like a central pool of athlete NFTs. So everyone will be kind of building a team from a central pool. It'll be like a draft system basically, right? A massive one, because it's not going to be one league. But yeah, so backpedaling on that, we're going to create an NFT minter. It's just going to be a resource for the Athletaverse admin only though. So we'll do the init singleton pattern and set that all up on when the contract initializes, and lock that up so that nobody else can do it. And then yeah, really we just need to create empty collection so that our users can mint their team collection right away. Cool. Athlete minter, Myanter. Oh, I don't know about launch date. Like the game plan for this, at least for the summer, is just to play around. Like I've been really just kind of using it to hammer in some of my understandings of Cadence. And then I also need to figure out what the limitations are. Like I don't know enough about smart contract development yet to not really just try to make things myself and try to run into walls myself and just see where they exist. So I guess like I'm gonna try to break things and build things as solid as possible for the next few months while I keep putting the plan together and see if there's things that kind of like the team, like, or the league and team relationship, it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. So just little things like that. I'm just seeing what comes up as I try to build it. And then I think like around September, the game plan would be to chat with the other guys that are helping me kind of just with the thinking side of it and the product side of it. See who's interested in what, like see what kind of roles would go around, who's actually interested in maybe starting a company around this. So yeah, no time soon, 2022 maybe. No, I'm just a swashbuckler. I'm a free agent. So I do I mostly right now I mostly trade crypto, code, and then just do these streams to help people out. So this is kind of my baby right now. Like this project is the one that I'm focusing on. It's really a lot of fun, right? So yeah, I'm just kind of soldiering through it and using this as kind of a sandbox for kind of moving forward with Cadence and that type of thing. What about you? Got anything cool on the go, project-wise or anything like that? Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. We need the pub fun. Create. What's up, Justin? How's it going, buddy? I saw you were learning about space stuff. I dropped in for a solid 2 minutes and then decided I should really get on this stream. Actually, I don't do a lot of Solidity. I know. It's funny, like I know Cadence better than I know Solidity at this stage. So I'm interested in it. I'm not, I'm scared of Solidity, to be honest. I've watched so many projects go badly and saw so many lost funds stories and stuff like that last year that the thing that really spoke to me about learning Cadence was the fact that like it's very easy to protect people from bad bugs, right? Like from losing money, as long as you understand like the best practices and proper design patterns with this language. So that, and the fact that if I want to launch something, the team will put it through a review process, and it's almost like getting your code audited right out of the gate, which is super handy. So cool, man. Like I'm a web developer too, so like that's where I came from. It's quite a paradigm shift learning about resources and cadence and flow. But I highly recommend doing it. It's gonna level up your programming skills like crazy. And there's some, like, if JavaScript is what you're using, I'm not sure like if you're a front end or whatever, but if you're familiar with JavaScript, there's a lot of good like the kitty items example is great if you want to look at like how to actually build like a front end application. Cool. I'm glad to hear that, man. That's awesome. That's exactly what this channel's for. So it's really nice to hear people actually getting up to speed with flow and finding the videos helpful. No, I didn't hear what we get, Justin. I didn't hear what we get for the poster sale yet. Um, I almost don't want to know, but yeah, I'm gonna jump in. It's like after the markets this week, I feel less confident in the future than I did, but that's just how she goes when you see big red candles all day. So yeah, I'm still kind of planning on jumping into the poster sale tomorrow with you. Okay, create empty collection. Let's get this done. Let me just double check that example again. Did we return a... Yeah, we did return the non-fungible namespace collection. So returning the like base type collection, not the Athletaverse specific collection for composability reasons. So I'm getting a little bit all over the place again. Guess we can just copy that comment over to keep things somewhat organized here too. Now we'll create the actual athlete minter. Alright, I'm just gonna copy this. Copy it all, except for this. I know what we're doing there, so. Copy it, and that way I don't have to keep running over to that example. Oops, that was ugly, but here, let me just clean that up. I'm sorry for what I've done. There we go. Okay. That's wild. I thought there was more flow tutorial videos out there now. I thought I saw somebody talking about it in the Discord. Well, happy to be of service to you, my friend. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. It's an ever-changing language right now, so things from those videos might be a little bit out of date, but there's a lot of helpful people in the Flow Discord as well. It's a great community. Okay, just make sure this is Athlete NFT recipient, pass their full collection in there. I guess. Be cool to just pass a capability in there instead, but that's a reference, so it's okay. Make sure we're using the right. Oh yeah, we don't even need to pass in the ID. We do need to pass in a name though. So we'll pop that in first because it's specific to the NFT. You can pass the recipient's collection public. Like I really don't. I want to pass in. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm doing wrong. I would just prefer to work with capability than a direct reference. Sorry, this should be a receiver. That makes more sense to me. Yeah, we don't need to do this. So this is that incrementer that I was doing in the init method up here. So now we're just handling it. Like, it just makes more sense for me to do it there. I just feel like that is where it belongs in my heart. So again, if anybody has a good reason not to put it there, please let me know. I just kind of would prefer to do it that way. Same down here, it's just preference, but we have these interfaces and stuff, so just why not use them? It's gonna make it a little easier. Doesn't really change anything in my opinion, right? We're still just making an NFT, passing it in. We're just not using a direct reference. Cool. So now we're gonna need to set up some paths. So we're gonna need Yeah, please do. I actually just set up a Discord server for just lots of people have been commenting on the channel and sending emails, and that's awesome. But I figured it's cool if we set up like a bit of a coder community or something like that. So there's a Discord channel in the video description. Feel free to join that as well. It's kind of slowly but surely gonna probably be my main hub. So if you need to get in touch, that's probably the fastest way to do it. Hopefully other viewers and builders will join that community and maybe be able to help answer each other's questions and stuff too. So just kind of a little group of builders that we're starting, and we can kind of put updates for this project in there and stuff as they come and as this thing takes a little bit more shape. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, name paths. So pub, we're just gonna call these constants. We're gonna need collection storage. Cool, good to know the video thingamajigger is working. Awesome, man. Glad to have you. Minter storage path. What else we have? We just have the collection and the minter. The athletes get stored in the collection. It's a beautiful thing. So the minter just needs, we're gonna give it a, we'll give it a storage path. We'll also give it a private path. Yeah, that's all we need. Okay. Collection provider path. Collection receiver and public are, well, receiver I guess is a private path. Don't quite sure know if we actually need that, but so what we're doing here is basically we're naming all these paths so that we can really easily call the actual path from the contract itself instead of having to remember what we wrote down every time. So as you build your projects and they get bigger and bigger, you're gonna have transactions and scripts, and your transactions are gonna be your transactions are gonna be your transactions are gonna be pulling paths quite a bit. You're gonna be looking for capabilities, where they're stored, references to resources, you name it. So it's much easier to just like you get tab completion. So when you look this up and you look for a path, you can get that auto-filled by your VS Code editor extension. So it makes life a lot easier that way. You don't even have to remember it. You just, well, maybe the first few letters or something like that. But it's a easily kind of nice named thing, as opposed to having to remember, okay, it was storage this, then storage that, and like, I don't know, much easier to bug proof your code this way. So it is one of the design patterns, just bringing that up again. So we'll have collection public path. I know that receiver, yeah, receiver we're gonna use, I guess, because we're gonna pass it into that minter. So yeah, that's okay. I think that's all we need for publics. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I guess like it's up to you how you want to organize these. Like for me, I like to have them split up, like storage, private, public. Organize them like that. I don't really think there's a there's a standard around that yet. I am thinking about clustering minter and collection together, but I don't know. I like it this way. So we're gonna initialize those with our path names. Athlete collection. So this is where I actually go to town. And just write the whole thing out. And the reason for that is like you don't want to confuse your storage domains. So this is living in your account. If anything, if someone's trying to save a new resource using a path name that you've already used, they're not going to be able to do that, which is great. Unless you've named your thing super generic, right? Like NFT or something like that. Like, so for me, I get into the practice of namespacing these. So what I like to use is the project, the asset, which is very much the contract name, and then the resource type. So this will be minter. So it's really long, but you don't have to actually write this out every time, because you're just tab completing your named paths when you're writing your transactions and other stuff. So quite nice. Mint private path? I don't remember what I did. Yeah. So we might create, like, depending on what we actually add to that minter, we might actually create an interface for it. We'll see. This comes on the heels of me talking about using the capabilities we have access to instead of direct references, so I'll probably do that. I feel like the stream is going to go pretty long though if I stress everything like that out, so I'm going to power through. I'd really like us to actually mint a few of these, and test adding them to a team. So that would be kind of cool. Yeah, I think we can leave it like that. Cool, so we can this on. Okay, so we initialize with the 0 supply. We assign our named paths. We're gonna need to create a minter using an init singleton pattern for the admin. So cannot. I guess I'm actually doing something too, so sorry, that's a save. 2, and this is where we can use our so much Athletaverse. This is where we can use our actual named paths, so that's really nice. Instead of writing all those paths every single time we do it. So we're gonna create a new athlete mentor. Then we're gonna link the private path. Just thinking if we even really need to do this, but we'll do it for. Like, we really totally could just use a direct reference to it, but I still like using the public and private paths so I know what they're for. So we're still just gonna link it. So we gotta type it. So it will be athlete, or I guess we can just put it as. Reference to the athlete mentor. There is no custom interface, and then we're gonna set it to enter private path with the target of Athletaverse athlete mentor storage path. Okay, so what that's doing is just linking our private capability to our private path, and it's looking for the resource in the storage path that we just saved it to. And then we just need to create a, we might as well create a collection for the admin as well. Make sure I'm doing that right. Yeah, self account, not self owner account. Okay. That seemed weird. So we create, save it, and then we go back to linking. Let's check that example here quickly and see how they went about it. Okay, so they link the base type, but I ain't about that life. I want to... Yeah, I guess we can link. So like basically what I'm thinking here is like we need the public. Oh yeah, that's what I forgot. Okay, sorry. What's going on in my brain is I named all the paths except for the like athlete public, like the one that we use to access like our custom metadata and methods. Giving myself a smarty there. So yeah, this guy. I need to link this one. So I need to name a path for it as well. I don't like that already, but I'll figure out a better name for it later. I don't know why I did that, but... Okay. And at least if you make a spelling mistake up here, you can use that same spelling mistake all throughout your code. So, yeah, we're gonna do the... I'm just gonna link up all of the capabilities. So there's provider. We're gonna use Athletaverse. These always point back to wherever the resource is stored. And you're just creating a capability to the interface that you pass into the type. Yeah, this one. Just trying to remember why I made it private, but kind of because we use the collection public for all the receiver methods anyway. So for the lulls, I'll just create a collection receiver private capability that we like. I think we'll use this one for minting. This one I think is pretty much useless, like unless we actually need to withdraw something to send it somewhere. Actually, yeah, no, we will need that. So good job, everyone. Just our basic NFTs, so all the stuff that we could get off the base type, we could get from a public capability here. There we go. And finally, the one we will use the most, I think. Okay, lots of capabilities. Just to keep some form of organization here for anyone reading the repo later. Wow. Okay, so that will so when we deploy the contract, that will save this athlete mentor resource to the deployer's account, link up a private path so only the deployer can actually use that mentor, and then it'll save so we're just using our method here to actually create an empty collection. We could really just as easily just do this. So we'll just do it. And then create empty collection would be that method that people can call after the contract's deployed to set up their account. We'll write a transaction for that in a bit. Cat's getting hungry. Okay. So that should be it, like for the athlete smart contract. We should be able to mint our athletes into our user's account. We'll just need to create so we're actually going to use our NFTs in our team collection now, which means I'll have to import. You want me to do these at the top of the file, or are you going to yell at me? Yeah, okay. Sorry for my style. What am I doing here? What's going on with my indentation? Did I mess something up big? There we go. Okay, so that looks cool. I'm gonna have to go through the team, I guess, and figure out or fix up the way that I've set up these like add and remove athlete methods, because these are all kind of using the capability idea that I had before. That's definitely not going to work anymore. So okay, a little bit more work than intended. Let me just have a quick breather and I will be back in about 5 minutes and we will carry on. just had a bit of an epiphany. When we mint these, they're going to end up in the admin's account. So they're going to be sitting in a pool, but they're not going to be retrievable by the... I have multiple users set up for like the test, so it's not the admin who's actually setting up the team, it's user 1. And user 1 would need to obtain these from the draft pool. So I'm probably not actually going to get to where I hoped we'd get, where we're actually adding these to a team and testing them today. Just because I have to think about how that's going to work now. Basically, like, we're going to have to put these into like some sort of protected collection that users can like use some sort of capability receiver pattern or something like that to actually gain access to draft it. So it's going to be kind of user will set up a team, then the user will gain permissions to draft the player, and there's going to be a significant level of control over the draft because the user will only be able to draft a certain amount of players from the pool. There won't be any transaction, like there won't be any cost to drafting. We'll figure out like there'll probably be like a cost to setting up a team. So yeah, you'll set up a team. There'll be like a pool of players that you can draft from. I need to set up this pool in a way where like there's tiers or something like that, so that the player that's setting up a team can't just draft like the 10 best players in the pool, because it's gonna create a pretty diluted player pool for people to draft from. So anyway, getting back to the actual stream today stuff, we'll probably look at the Athletaverse team, like the methods in here, and just change them over to actually work with a work with the new NFT that we have instead of the capabilities. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna have enough time today. Like we're looking at about another 20 minutes, so I'll probably just motor through here, clean this up, get it into a good place, and then probably spend some time offline next week, like coding up the draft collection and all that stuff, and then we can go through it next Friday for the hanging code stream, and you can see everything working. Famous last words, but that is the hope. So yeah, we're gonna go through this team here quickly. The roster, that's a resource dictionary now, so that'll have to be an empty resource dictionary that we pass in. So I'm just scrolling up here to make sure I get everything on this pass. So yeah, this is the team, no longer the athlete that we're looking at now. Team names can be updated, so that's cool. Add athlete to team. We should just be able to pass a token in here now. Oh yeah, okay. So I need to get the ID from the athlete. And then destroy old athlete. So what's going on there is we're passing in the NFT, we're grabbing the ID from that NFT, and then we are putting this athlete in the dictionary at the key of its ID, And if there is an old athlete in there, removing that out and destroying it. So that's working with resources again. That's why that's different than just assigning a value to the roster. What's up, Catman? I know you're hungry. We'll get there in a few minutes, buddy. It's still early. Cool. So we pulled the athlete ID out. We're still passing that through properly. That's great. A very talkative little cat. So here we're removing the athlete from the team. So we just need to pass in the ID. And then we are going to sub roster remove key ID. I think we should double check that there's one there first. Let me just comment this a bit. So we are going to need to return that. Okay, yeah, we can write a transaction for that. I was thinking about making it pop right into the signer's collection right away, but I don't know, like, yeah, I think you'll see in the, where did I have it? In the league, like I have a lot of transactions where I'm passing the signer in, like setup transactions. Yeah, here. I don't really know if I like that. I don't know if that's actually a good practice or not. What I'm finding is like I reference the flow team stuff whenever I have questions about whether I'm moving in the right direction or not. And so I find they don't do this. They write transactions for this type of stuff. So this would just be packed up in a file out here. So I think I'll probably do that and clean some of this stuff out of the repo and then double check with them and just say, hey, like this is just a question I have. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I can see why it would be useful, like in terms of like just wrapper functions or just kind of making things really easy and from a transaction perspective, like having to write less code per transaction. But at the same time, I feel like there's got to be a reason they do it the way they do it. So we'll just separate things out this way for now. So this this will return. Yeah, I gotta update these comments too. This will return the athlete back to the caller, and then the caller would have to put that into their collection again via transaction. It makes everything way cleaner though on the code side to read. So we'll stick with this for now. I'm just gonna update these comments here because otherwise I'm gonna forget and they're gonna be pretty confusing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that was pretty painless. Yeah. So just basically getting rid of the capability thing. We're not going to use that now. That's not even really possible at this stage. It is useful for the. You like this theme? Man, I'm stoked. I've asked for the last like 2 or 3 streams if this is too hard to read, because I just feel like comments are a beast in black in the dark mode. So glad to hear some positive comments on the theme. It is, if I can figure out how to use VS Code, Solanis or something. Let's see. Celestial, that's the one. Just in case you're looking for it. It's like the only theme I like. Yeah, so I mean, like, that's, I want to push this thing forward, but the thing that's really preventing, it's Celestial. Yeah, Celestial is the word for it. Like this. That one there. Yeah, so I mean, this is pretty much ready to rock, except for the fact that I need to solve the collection issue, and the collection issue is going to be a bigger problem to solve than I have time for right now. So it's really like, I don't want to set this up to be super janky. No problem, Taylor. I don't want to set this up to be super janky. The draft part is really important. Like, when you do create your team, like, there's a lot of integrity that needs to be built into that draft, or else the system's just gonna fall flat on its face. So I would like to spend some time with thinking about, okay, minting players, having them end up in a collection or a pool, basically, that team owners can then draft from. As mentioned before, it needs to be limited in terms of how many players someone can draft, and it also needs to be restricted to tiers, so that someone can grab, one of something divided by how many teams there are of the players, so that we can kind of cut them into chunks, so that it's kind of like having rounds in a draft. I'm a hockey guy, so like the NHL has 7 rounds. Teams technically get to draft once per round, but get to trade picks around and stuff like that. Oof, that's another idea. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stickiness to that. Drafts are really important. Like, this is really going to be everyone's entry point to the game and to building their team. So it's something that I definitely want to spend some time on and make sure is built well. So I think we'll probably wrap the stream up here. Definitely happy to answer any questions. I'm cutting out a few minutes earlier than I really expected to. So if anybody does have any quick questions about Cadence, like, hey, I'm working on a project, I'm trying to run my code, but it's telling me there's an optional being forced that's returning a nil value or something like that. I don't know. It's a tough answer. It's going to be hard for me to troubleshoot your code and stuff in 10 minutes too, but happy to hang out for the end of the stream and see if anybody has anything to chat about. But yeah, otherwise we're going to wrap it here. The athlete is very much roughed in. There is a lot more metadata to work with for athletes than a name, for sure. So we're going to add stats, like core stats, that we could use to infer sport specific attributes for, which will be pretty cool. The one challenge there is we're going to be using something really similar to like the CryptoKitties genes or Axie Infinity genes, like that type of DNA concept, where we basically generate a random hash for each player and then do some math on that hash and basically get the values that we need for our stats. So I think that's going to be really cool. As mentioned before, there's more than one way to go about that. I'm really stoked with Cadence, with like the low cost of transactions and the low cost of doing things on chain, at least now, that I'd really like to play with, trying to build these out on chain as much as possible, as opposed to having, say, like a server side like JavaScript or Go script running, and kind of injecting the metadata into the athletes as they go. It's still, in my opinion, it's just as good either way, but I think there's more trust built into something that's done on chain, and it is kind of the cool kid way of doing things in NFT world. So that's the way that I'm gonna kind of progress with this in terms of the metadata. I wasn't even thinking about this collection problem yet, so this whole drafting thing is probably gonna come first. I'm gonna have a solution for that. We're gonna build out the athletes, and hopefully next week we'll get to the gear NFT contract, so for player equipment. And then I think after that we're going to start looking at metadata. We'll build the athlete metadata out, and then we'll start looking at the gear side of things and how that affects the athlete metadata and the stats. Hey, no worries. It's nice to actually be getting some action on the stream. It was a few months back, there was crickets for the entire thing, and I was just chatting on my screen. So it's nice having you all here, and I'm really stoked to see so many new people learning Cadence, or at least interested in kind of what runs behind the scenes on NFTs. So I did mention a little while ago, I decided to start a Discord server. The link is in the channel description. I find there's a lot of people sending emails and comments and stuff when I'm away, and it's the emails are easy enough to keep on top of. The comments are a little bit hit and miss for me on YouTube, and I apologize for that. So if you are looking for a better way to stay in contact, please do join the Discord. I'm hoping it just kind of creates a community of builders, and even if you're not a technical person, maybe you're interested in the product side of things, or just in the space and what's being built in general. So I do spend a lot of time playing and exploring the space, so I'd definitely like to shout out project ideas if something cool comes across my path. So yeah, I hope you guys come hang out in Discord. Feel free to introduce yourselves, and it'd be nice to get to know you a little bit better. So that'll be it for today. Yeah, we'll pick up next Friday, do another hanging code stream. I think we're probably going to stick to Athletaverse stuff for the next like 3 or 4 weeks. There's a lot of work obviously to be done, and every time I build something new, something else pops up. So it's a lot of fun, and I'll see you all next week. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you very much.